digest what the hell is stress. We can live a little better, I do profess. To see the stogie leads to the bottle to the joint. It's a domino effect if you get my point. The joint to the coke to the dope. And you know what? The wake up either dead or broke.
If the ultimate weapon is a bigger subsidy, we will use it. It is worth it. It's worth $50 million this year if that's what it costs to buy a $3 million crop. If it'll do the job. Now, it may be there'll be social problems and the political problems and the rest, and their embarrassment that won't do the job. My guess is that $50 million wouldn't do it, but it is worth it to this country. If that will do the job, pay $50 million.
How it is that the United States, with all its military services, the Coast Guard, the CIA, the FBI, the DEA, and cooperating agencies, including local police departments, how they are not able to suppress the drug trade in the United States, how they cannot seal the borders and stop these shipments coming in, and then the whole distribution system.
The nature of the drug use and availability of drugs began to change as the Vietnam War went bad. Specifically, there was a shift from the availability of relatively innocuous drugs like marijuana and hashish on the street to those drugs becoming relatively scarce due to federal drug programs, and there appearing instead a large quantity of very pure, very cheap heroin.
DEA, FBI, CIA, military, they're all into this international narcotics trafficking. So it doesn't mean that any particular target is only the area of one intelligence agency, because there are all kinds of interagency working groups in which they coordinate their activities directed toward a single target.
The drug trade always supports the government's internal political agenda. It has never not supported the government's internal political agenda. For an example, the phenomena that we saw with the Nicaraguan situation, which we call the Iran-Contra affair, Iran had less to do with the Iran-Contra affair, in our opinion, than Colombia, because it was the Colombian drug pushers which opened up avenues for finance that the United States government could not get legally from the Congress.
Some of the Hmong tribespeople were involved in the production of poppies, and under the CIA, that production greatly increased, and the revenues from the sale of those drugs, which were flown out by CIA proprietary airlines, were used to further finance covert operations by the CIA.
So, what the United States government did was to get the ready cash through Elliott Abrams that allowed drugs, cocaine, to come into these poor communities all over the country as a means to then serve the secondary agenda, which is to sedate and control and criminalize as many of those black and Latin people that they can.
One of the effects is to take totally out of the political picture a whole generation or two of young black males who either get involved in the drug trade and end up in prison, or who get involved in consumption and do not get involved in politics.
It's the state that builds the archipelago of prisons. It's the state that invents a rhetoric of 3 strikes and you're out. It's the state that invents a vocabulary that is soaked in crime, which is meant to describe the lives of young people, adolescents, basically.
Let knowledge be born, shot ya. Let knowledge be born, shot ya. Let knowledge be born, let knowledge be born, let knowledge be born, shot ya. Let knowledge be born.
I have spent 19 years in prison in the United States for my political beliefs. You were the symbol that helped sustain me and other African American political prisoners. I say to you, brother, we love you and we will not give up the fight. We will not give up the fight. We will give up the fight. We will not give up the fight.
I think we've had political prisoners in the United States for a very long time. On an official level, they would not admit this.
Of course there are political prisoners in the United States, even if the U.S. government will never admit to them. Political prisoners are the heartbeat of the struggle, reminders of what the struggle is really about. They have been behind the wall now 15, 20, and going on 25 years. They must not be forgotten.
So while I'm sitting here in prison today with 115 witnesses, 532 exhibits, electronic surveillance, electronic eavesdropping, no fingerprints, no blood, no weapon, no words, nothing ever said against me, but I'm convicted.
To this date, at least 800 pages of COINTELPRO and ADEX, or agitator index files, have been released to my lawyers in my name. Of course, thousands have not been. They're still classified.
We believe that the Congressional Black Caucus should have a hearing to determine the effect of COINTELPRO on the new African independence movement, the Black liberation movement, like they did to the left. That the parties responsible must admit they're wrong in those attacks of violation of those people's constitutional rights. It will then set a tone of reconciliation.
A single stone or a grain of sand, as we are each individuals, if we change ourselves, if we do one small thing, it's much better than people trying to do big things and for their self-aggrandizement.
Government and the system, the industrial forces that are a plague on Mother Earth, that are destroying the water, the air, the earth itself, the genetic material within us all, it isn't just destroying it for people in Africa, or people in Southeast Asia, or people in Latin America. It's destroying it for every being on Earth. And I mean every being. I don't mean every man, woman, and child. I mean every living entity.
All through history, no matter how much power has surged, through totalitarian, through empires, rulers, and conquerors, whether they be governments or individuals as dictators or despots or tyrants, history has always shown that the human spirit will always prevail.
We do not exist as individuals. All of us have a mother and a father. So we come from a collectivity of these two beings. We cannot ignore that and say, well, I am. There is no I am. There is only we are. We are collective. All of us breathe the same air. We share the same sunlight. The feelings that I have in my heart are feelings that you have in your heart. We share spiritual vibrations.
Love is natural. Hate is unnatural. Hate breeds hate. So, but I have never known where you have overcome hate with hate, but you can overcome hate with love and respect.
I'll just say it in the words of Bob Marley. Stand up for your rights. Don't let anybody tell you what you can and you cannot do. You can organize, you can educate, you can make a difference.
We have to learn how to sit down and talk with each other first. Until we can sit down and speak with each other, sit down as men and women, sit across from each other and break bread, and to learn that we're human beings. I don't care